What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTB Ravens Media, bringing you Ravens content every single day. I apologize the last few days. There has not been a video. Moving, graduation, a lot of stuff going on. We're back, and there's some Baltimore Ravens news that is going to be talked about. Now, tomorrow we are recording a much longer podcast session. We'll be talking more about Lamar Jackson and all of those things. So if you guys have any questions you want us to talk about in that, leave that in the comment section down below, because we're talking about Michael Pierce, because he is not reporting to mandatory training camp or mini camp with the Baltimore Ravens. So, what does this mean for the roster? What does this mean for the defensive line? How does this impact the offseason decisions that we made? A lot of people wanted Jordan Davis, but we brought in Michael Pierce, and I was like, ooh, now we don't really want Jordan Davis. So, all those types of things. Joshua, what were you kind of thinking when you first saw the news about Michael Pierce?
Well, I mean, when I heard about Michael, I'll put it like this. When I heard about Michael Pierce, I was like, well, at least it's not Lamar Jackson, so we don't give ESPN nothing to really talk about. So you know what? I'll take the Michael Pierce, issue. I mean, if he doesn't show up the whole mandatory minicamp, that's $90,000 out of his pocket that he has to pay back to the organization. So it's not a hurtful thing, but at the end of the day, it's always next man up in the Ravens organization. So Travis Jones, Justin Matabike, Broderick Washington, whoever else is there for the interior D line, it's time for you young men and even older guys to go ahead and get those reps.
Yeah, exactly. Like the Ravens defense has so many young pieces on it with Matabike, with even the young edge rushers that they have, Adafe and Jalen Ferguson and Dalen Hayes. Like, while it would be great to have Michael Pierce there, we get to see what the Ravens young guys can do. Now, I would much rather we have Michael Pierce because we don't have Brandon Williams anymore, and he was supposed to be that defensive anchor. But the Ravens also did bring in a couple of people, and defensive tackle is always a place where you can find somebody. You can always find a big body. Now, they won't be as good as Michael Pierce, but hopefully we are able to sort out the situation. Apparently it was something personal. So, if it's something that's like bad right now, obviously we're wishing him the best, but, nothing's really come out in that regard. It's just kind of been like, oh, maybe it could be like he's upset with the organization or whatever it is. We'll find out what it is eventually, but overall, it's just allowing the Ravens young players to get an opportunity to shine. And Calais Campbell can play the interior, Matabike can play the interior. If the Ravens don't have a traditional nose tackle, it may not be the end of the world, because the nose tackle is less important than it was 10 years ago. Because 10 years ago, you were going, wow, maybe even farther than 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you're going up against Steven Jackson, Michael Turner, Mendenhall. You're going up against so many of these just bruising running backs that are going to go up the middle, up the middle, up the middle. We used to play the Titans. It was Eddie George, right? There were so many guys where it was like, okay, you got to, pull up the britches, as J.K. Dobbins told a Cleveland Browns player after giving him a concussion. You gotta step up, and you gotta play inside of that zone. And overall, the Ravens are now going to be able to transition maybe into the modern age where the nose tackle is not as important. A lot of people complain about Big Baby Brandon Williams because he's only useful in like very, very small situations. Is it a bad thing that we're gonna have Matabike out there a lot more if Pierce is not able to play?
I don't think so. I mean, for the simple fact, yes, Justin Matabike, he's shown flashes of what he can do, but sometimes with showing the flashes, there was next plays where you see him getting pancaked. But it's something that you always been talking about this offseason, the athleticism of these athletes, especially on the defensive line. I mean, hell, we can go into talk about arguably one of the greatest players now playing in the NFL, Aaron Donald, for a big man that wanted to play running back, but he ate too much. He is a freak of nature. I mean, honestly, it takes 3 men to take him up. But the thing about Aaron Donald, he doesn't always have to line over the center. He can line up over the guard. If the defensive coordinator wanted to get really exotic, they can put him on the end and let him work out a left tackle and let him do a Khalil Mack and do some push-ups. So I mean, it really depends on the system. It really depends on the players. I feel like, with a young, hungry defensive coordinator like Mike McDonald, with a lot of young, hungry, and also veteran savvy guys in this defensive nucleus, the interior D lineman is, I wouldn't say about to become extinct, but it's starting to become more irrelevant in today's age game of football. And you got to think about it. A lot of teams are more air raid teams. Some of the big body running backs run outside the tackle. Hell, the biggest running back in the league, Derrick Henry, does not run up the middle as much as y'all think. He is between the tackles on the outside. And honestly, if I'm an outside linebacker and I see Derrick Henry running on the outside between the tackles, I think I'd be a little bit more worried if I would. So, I mean, honestly, man, when it comes to that interior D line, yes, it's good to have that veteran presence. It's good to have a run stopper. But at the same time, with how these offenses are shaping up, how they're getting so much, dynamic and putting up points so crazy, I'd rather have someone that's, an all around athletic type of guy.
And what's crazy is, we've brought up Matabike, we've brought up, Broderick Washington. We drafted a young man out of the University of Connecticut in Mr. Travis Jones, coming in as a pass rushing 1 or 3 tech. And
Yep.
now he shed a lot of weight, so that he can be more of a pass rusher. But overall, he is an interior defensive lineman that the Baltimore Ravens will now get a lot more opportunity to use. There were a lot of reports, and even myself included, who thought he could maybe go in to the back end of the first round, pick 30, pick 32, that kind of area. Because Jordan Davis, people were going to draft because of the athleticism. But Travis Jones wasn't far behind that in terms of freaky athlete. He ran a sub 5 40-yard dash at over 330 pounds or whatever he ran it as. He got productive sack numbers at UConn. He ran that UConn defense. So the Ravens have him, who they got as a steal,
Yep.
in the 3rd round. And then they have Mr. Justin Matabike, who has been waiting for that opportunity and who has shown so many flashes. Like, those are 2 really good young athletic pieces that can get after the quarterback and stop the run. And it'll allow for versatility to be used. And we, if the Ravens get into a situation where they need just a pure, run stopping nose tackle, that's why they have Isaiah Mack, right? That's why they brought in also a couple of undrafted free agents I know that play on the defensive line. I do not know. Khalil McKenzie may be one of them. I don't know if he's more of a nose tackle or, 3 tech. But overall, like, there are players in this organization that can take the spot of Michael Pierce if he doesn't want to play for the Ravens. And it would be unfortunate if he doesn't want to play, but we drafted a defensive tackle early.
Yep.
And we have young defensive tackles. This is not a player, like if who's a player? If Marcus Williams wasn't coming to practice, we would have problems. That's a signing where it's like, okay, we need you.
True.
If Morgan Moses was like, nah, then we're like, okay, this is not good. Jawan James, I guess you got to get out there, bud. Put on the chin strap. Not good for the Ravens offense. So overall, like, while Michael Pierce was a luxury signing,
Mm-hmm.
he's not the end-all be-all for this Ravens defense. He's probably the 11th most important person on the Ravens defense. Maybe the 12th if we're counting the main man who's back on the practice field, Mr. Amon Marshall. So, I had to get him in there. Shout out to Amon Marshall. He's practicing. It's a rare occasion that I get to say it. So, got to take the opportunity. But, it's just such a weird situation where, like, everyone talks about, this whole Lamar Jackson contract dispute, which was never a contract dispute. I don't know where everyone's getting that information. And
Yes.
now all of a sudden it's Michael Pierce isn't showing up for personal issues. Is there, I don't know, is there anything to be concerned about whatsoever with this, Joshua? Or is this just, he's just not showing up? Maybe he will, maybe he won't. Doesn't really matter.
Well, before I get in that side note, Justin Metabige has been working out with Aaron Donald this off season, so looking forward to see how that progresses and plays on the field. Also, let's not forget in rookie minicamp, we did have Marcel Darius work out too. So I'm not, like you said, not the end all be all, but if Michael Pierce doesn't come to work out, maybe we rejuvenate an old veteran's career. We're known to do that every now and then. But honestly, I feel like the Ravens is still a hot team to talk about. So it's like, ESPN is bored. They have the finals. You got the guys over there in hockey working towards the Stanley Cup. Shout out to my Tampa Bay Lightning. Um, so I don't think this is something to be nervous or worried about. I mean, like I said, I think the Ravens is a team that really is the real team that everybody's counting on to make this comeback. So if there is some type of controversy or some type of negative image about what's going on in Owens Mills, Maryland, at the practice facility, of course ESPN is going to be on it. I mean, that's what a reporter's job is to do. So I mean, as Ravens fans, can we get mad at it? No, embrace it. Do what Lamar Jackson do. Embrace it. Confront it. Talk about it. But at the end of the day, um, don't let it fluster in your spirit so much that you gotta, fuss with everybody. No, just let your work talk for you. And honestly, this season. I don't know about you, but I feel like this season is going to be one of those. We ain't gonna do too much talking. We gonna just get out there, show you what we're about, and I'm loving that energy.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a situation where if he ends up not playing for the Ravens, he ends up retiring or something like that, that gives the Ravens some money.
Yeah,
That gives the Ravens the opportunity to go out and get somebody else. So if Michael Pierce is not in a situation where he is a top tier player in the NFL, while I like Michael Pierce, he has not played very much in the last few seasons. He hasn't really played a lot since he left Baltimore.
hmm
Overall, he doesn't have a lot of negotiating room right now. So, you know, he whatever he does, it's his own decision, but he's not going to strong arm the Ravens into doing something for him. The Ravens are looking at it like, hey, you know what? We signed you. You should be here. And if you're not going to show up, then we can replace you. You are not our priority. You are not in the top 5 in our priority. They are worried about, or not worried. They're focusing on trying to get Lamar to sign that extension.
yeah,
They are looking into edge rushers that they can sign. They're bringing in JPP and so all of these things they're focusing on. Michael Pierce not showing up is not even on the team's radar. I bet. Like they're probably like, oh, he's not showing up. Okay. Oh well. Next man up.
exactly.
He's not Lamar. He's not Marlon Humphrey. He's not Calais Campbell. If those guys aren't showing up, you got a problem.
Right.
But Joshua, do you have anything else to say about Michael Pierce?
Nah, man. I'm just ready to wrap this one up so we can talk about the other good guys. Like Derek Wolf. Getting up out of here.
Yeah, Derek Wolf. That'll be out tomorrow, guys. That'll be a lot of fun. That'll be on the podcast episode tomorrow, talking about Derek Wolf and Lamar's return and Amon Marshall, taking his rightful place as CB1 on the practice squad. But all right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe for Daily Ravens content. We'll see all of you again tomorrow with a full podcast recording and the first segment of that.